recently needed to wipe my Windows 10 PC to factory settings due to some issues I was experiencing with the operating system. Now, I usually do this about once a year just to make sure that everything feels new again, since PC components are outrageously expensive at the moment and will probably be like that for a while. What better time to do some spring cleaning to make your PC last longer? Though I guess at this point in the year, it's May, so it's almost summer cleaning. So this is a 3-part series with tons of pro tips to make this process as smooth and as painless as possible. Now first, some comments before the comments, because I know I will get comments. No, I don't need help fixing my computer. I have built computers since I was 9 years old, and I have fixed more PCs for the men in my life than most people that I know. Also, yes, I am very aware that I can reset a Windows 10 box straight through the settings, and I think that that is awesome for most people. In fact, I use those tools anytime I need to wipe a laptop that I have reviewed before I send it back to PR. I know a lot of y'all out there prefer starting completely fresh, so that's what we are doing here today, and this video is for you. Also, not something that I did this time around, but it's an excellent tip and something I'm gonna do going forward. You can actually move your entire user folder from the C directory to another drive. So cool. You can totally do this, and all of your preferences would be kept intact since the user directory is custom for you depending on your software and your settings. I put a link down in the description for how to do that. You can just click on the title of this video to open up the description. So for part 1, these are all of the pro tips that you should know before wiping your operating system, including this really cool tool that you can use from the command prompt and another one from Powershell. I thought these were awesome. Before getting started, you will need 2 different external storage options. One is going to be used for storing important data, and you will need another flash drive, at least like 8 gigs, I think mine is 16 gigs or something like that, to create a Windows 10 recovery drive. So number 1, let's go ahead and get organized. If you skip these steps, you could lose important data or files from your system, so start by making a list, checking it twice, and ensuring that you are ready to reset your PC before you actually do so. This might take some brainstorming on your part if you have saved like random portable apps locally in some random folders somewhere, or if there is anything that you only use occasionally and you might have forgotten about. I save all of my notes into an app called Notion.so, which is this organizational all-in-one workplace that stores notes on Notion servers, so I can access these from any operating system on any device. Now, I would not use Notion for any sensitive information though. I would rather use a password manager that can store notes for that kind of stuff. Number 2 is plug in a flash drive or an external SSD, or a NAS, some device for storing data that you won't be wiping during the operating system reinstall. You will use this to store some data before you wipe your computer. So go ahead and plug it in and make sure that it's something that you can use to store additional data. Number 3, look at your installed programs list, make note of any that you may need to reinstall after reinstalling Windows. I do this by hitting Start, typing in programs, and hitting Enter, and that brings up my system settings with all of my apps. I do this since some applications may have gotten buggy or they may need updates anyway, so installing a fresh application after resetting may give you access to new features or fix issues that you may have experienced. It's also a good idea to look through here for any kind of applications that are no longer available for download online, so you can go ahead and grab those installers or the apps from your current OS directory and save them somewhere that you can reinstall them afterwards. Number 4, once I have that list, I go over to Ninite to create an installer package and speed up the process of reinstalling applications. Ninite will create a personalized installer for all of those popular apps. You pick and choose whichever ones you use out of their list, and it will grab those up-to-date installers for you from each of those separate sites. And then you can just have one installer instead of having to go to each of those separate sites to get the separate up-to-date files yourself. It saves so much time. Once I have grabbed my Ninite installer, I'll check off the software from my list that I have saved. Number 5, if there are any applications that are not available on Ninite, I go ahead and I find their download website so that I can set myself up for quick success by downloading the MSI or the EXE file installers to that flash drive for later use, and I will just store them for later. And then I will check those off my list too. So my flash drive has exe installers for like my Elgato and Corsair hardware, for example. That stuff is not available on Ninite, but I don't want to go around fishing for it afterwards for the download sites after my PC is freshly wiped. So I will just save them now and save myself the headache afterwards. Number 6. Okay, this one is also important, and it's crucial for anyone who does a lot of creative work on their machines. I don't use Adobe Cloud for backups, and even if I did, some of the presets and the templates I use for my creative work, those things would not be backed up. Things like my Premiere Pro keyboard presets or my Photoshop presets, Lightroom presets that I have purchased, my Lightroom catalog of edits, years and years of edits that I have made to my photography, watermarks for my photography, even my Elgato Stream Deck settings profile, those are all saved locally. So this will vary depending on your use case, but I opened each program and I made note of what settings I use, and then I went into my file directory to find each of those templates or each of those settings files. And sometimes I had to Google where to find those things because they're just in these crazy folders that I would never think of. I copied and pasted all of the important ones to an external drive or a flash drive to be imported into the software after the operating system reinstall. Sometimes you can export those settings straight from the software as well, but sometimes you have to find the file directory folder where they are all stored in. So it varies a lot, really depending on what software you use. Now, pro tip, you don't have to do this if you save all of your user files from Windows onto a drive that won't be wiped during the operating system reinstall. Number 7, let's talk about drivers. Yes, you can find your current driver version and more details through the device manager. Components require these drivers to work and be compatible with other components. And if you don't have the proper ones, your system might not work right. It can be a pain to reinstall all of your drivers after the operating system install, and sometimes they may not even be available through the manufacturer's website anymore. So this pro tip is really, really useful. Number 8 goes along with this. Windows 10 is pretty good at finding drivers and updating everything for you the first time you allow it to connect to the internets. But for anything that it cannot find, especially if you are using really random products or really random systems, or something is no longer available, you might want to save those drivers before reinstalling. Finding drivers via the file system is a little bit convoluted, but there is an easier way. Props to Archiver for sharing this with me because it's so cool. Archiver often has to wipe lots of PCs or update drivers for lots of PCs at his work, so finding drivers for each and every machine, that would be a huge time suck. So number 9, first, how many drivers do you actually have installed? Well, you can see them listed out using a Powershell command. Click Start and type in Powershell, and then right-click to open it as an administrator. Hit OK on any pop-ups that you might see, and then type in GER-WMIObject Win32_PNP signed driver pipe, select device name, comma, manufacturer, comma, driver version, and press enter. I will show you that whole thing on the screen, and I'll type it down in the description down below. Now that will list out every single driver on your PC in a really nice format, like I have my NVIDIA display, GPU drivers, Elgato drivers, everything is in there. So now I have this visual representation of what I currently have on this machine. And number 10, you can actually back up all of those drivers that you see in that PowerShell script into one fell swoop with a command line tool. All you have to do is click Start, type in CMD, right-click to open the command prompt as administrator, and then type in dism/online/export-driver/destination. You put in your full path of the folder, and that full path of the folder will be wherever you want to save your drivers to. So for me, that was my flash drive. So I would use G:*drivers backup, which is this folder that I had already created on my flash drive, so everything would have a temporary home while I reinstall Windows 10. You hit enter and it will export all of your drivers into the new folders. Now it might take a while, but you can cross-check this once it's done against what you had open in PowerShell to ensure that everything backed up correctly. When we get to the third part in this series, I will show you how to reinstall these, but for now, just keep them somewhere safe on that little flash drive. Don't delete them because you will need them later. Number 11 is easy. Now back up any licenses or keys for your software, especially your Windows 10 license. This will be found on the box if you buy it from a store, or your email receipt if you bought it online. If you lost it, there are plenty of websites that can show you how to find it again via the UFI or via the command prompt. Windows 10 may activate automatically, which is awesome using a digital license key, but I still like keeping mine on hand just in case it doesn't register it. You should store this key along with any other license keys for software somewhere private and secure, like a fireproof safe or a password manager using proper secure authentication. A place that you won't lose them and nobody else will have access to. Number 12. At this point, you have pretty much prepared yourself for success. So you can unplug your flash drive and plug in an empty drive that can be turned into your Windows 10 installation media. This needs to be separate from the flash drive you saved all your drivers onto. So just make sure that you're using something separate from that. So you probably want to have 2 flash drives. So use the steps outlined on the Microsoft website to turn your flash drive into a bootable installation drive for Windows 10. This is going to be what Windows will reinstall from once you have started the factory wipe. The flash drive needs to have at least 8 gigs of storage according to their website. I think mine is 16 or 32 for the installation media. I'm pretty sure I sized up just to be on the safe side. And number 13, once it's completed, you are almost done. Ensure your cloud backup or external backup for all of your files, your photography, important tax documents or Word documents, locally stored music or audio or video files, anything like that, just make sure it's all backed up into a secondary storage just in case anything happens when you start reinstalling Windows 10. And double and triple check that data backup to ensure it's not corrupted and you can actually download that data back to your local computer in case you ever needed to save it and restore it. I save all of my important files to a cloud backup solution as well as a few offline external SSDs. This ensures that I have redundancy, so if one of those platforms fail, I will always have a backup, and I'm about to install a NAS as well. I'm paranoid of losing data. It's very important to me. Number 14. At this point, I am going to tell you something that might make you go, what? Why? But it will make sense, I promise. Unplug your Ethernet cable or unhook the Wi-Fi adapter. No, really, do it. I have my reasons. Stick with me here. Just follow along with the rest of the series. Number 15. Also, turn off your computer. Make sure you turn it off before you do this, and open up your PC and unplug and disconnect all drives except for whichever one you want to reinstall Windows onto. You may look at your drives in your PC tower and not know which ones go to which drive letter or which data is stored on which drive letter. And if that's the case, just turn off the PC, unplug one, restart your PC, and see which one is no longer showing up in your file directory. Do that a few times until all your extra drives are unplugged and you're good to go. This will ensure that you in no way could reinstall Windows 10 onto a drive that is holding some kind of important data on it. And make sure whichever drive is still installed does not have anything important on it, because at this point, you are ready to factory wipe your PC. Now, if you do have hardware upgrades to do, now's a good time to do it. You already backed everything up, so you won't run the risk of losing anything. So you could refresh your hardware components at this point. It's also a great time to clean your PC of any dust or label any wires or cables for organization down the line. This is just a great time to refresh your computer both physically and mentally. And that is everything for pre-reinstallation of the operating system. The next video is going to cover some crucial steps for the actual installation and why the heck I told you to unplug your internet. I have my reasons. Comment below and let me know what you always do for factory wiping a PC for operating system install. And if you are new here, subscribe to become a part of this amazing community that we have here, and check out my Patreon and buy me a coffee links down below to see how you can support this channel. Thanks again so much to my s'mores for subscribing and watching. I'm Shannon Morse, and I will see you soon. Bye, y'all.